Hello, callers. Welcome back to Viva Barca. Welcome to another interesting episode where we are going to be discussing on the latest transfer stories. We start with Nico Gonzalez as it has been reported that Xavi is now convinced, as most of the inner circles in the Barca offices have been convincing him to at least trust players like Nico to play at the pivot role next season. We are going to be discussing on that as we progress. Secondly, talking about Julian Araujo, as it have been reported that Barca will loan out the 21-year-old defender if he doesn't convince the manager this preseason. We are also going to be discussing on that. So guys, as we get right into the stories in much detail, please do ensure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Turn on the post bell notification to always stay notified whenever I post a new video. Consider liking the video and please watch it right up to the very end. Barca youngster Nico Gonzalez is still staring at an uncertain future at Barcelona following his loan stints at Valencia last season. A product of the club's famed La Masia Academy, Nico Gonzalez got his big breakthrough last season when Ronald Koeman was in charge. However, the 21-year-old's prominence gradually reduced under Xavi Hernandez before he eventually left for Valencia on a loan deal last summer. Nico had a mixed season at the Mastalla as he has plagued a few injury problems. Now set to rejoin Barca for pre-season training, the young midfielder is staring at an unclear future as things stand. For starters, even though several club officials see Nico as an option for the pivot midfield position, Xavi does not reciprocate the same thought. Instead, the club are working on signing Aurel Romeo for the position. And with Ilkay Gundogan's arrival, the competition for the interior midfield spot is increased as well. Despite that, Mundo Deportivo is reporting that Xavi is not entirely against the idea of keeping Nico at the club. The Barcelona manager would want to retain the 21-year-old if there are no better signings that arrive this summer. It is no secret that Barcelona are looking to offload Franquicia this summer, with why Pablo Torre is also likely to be shipped off on loan. So even with Gundogan's arrival, if those two exits do materialize, then there could be room for another midfield in the ranks. And Nico could thus be an option for Xavi to ensure that there is depth in the team across both pivot and also the interior positions in midfield, as there will be no space for the Blaugrana to sign another midfielder. Xavi thus wants to take a close look at Nico during the pre-season to see how he fares before a decision is made. In case it is decided that the 21-year-old Nico will leave on loan or permanently, there is no shortage of suitors, with Real Betis among the front runners to sign him. Of course, a lot of is spoken about Nico Gonzalez recently. I think Nico is a great player. He's a great player. We quite remember Nico left La Masia 2 seasons ago when Koeman was in charge. He came the same time with Pablo Gavi, and I think those two really made headlines and they shocked the world with their brilliance, and of course they showed a lot of promise, a lot of prospects, and even though it did work well for Gavi than Nico. Of course, Nico had to be loaned last year. I think that was a very good decision by Barca, because had it been Nico stayed this past season, he could have been really benched majority of the games, because the competition in midfield was really tough. I mean, it was tight, and I think Nico had to go on loan. But unfortunately, when he went on loan to Valencia, things did not really get well as planned. And not like he was a bad player there. Injuries really crippled him. But at the latter stages of this La Liga season that just passed, Nico was fit and he had some very good performances. Barca are not ruling out the possibility of keeping Nico at the club next season or this coming season, as Xavi has been convinced that the player can still make way to become the pivot. We know Barca have been looking for a pivot since Busquets left. To look his replacement have been a very tough task. We have been linked with uncountable players in that role, linked with Joshua Kimmich, Martin Zubimendi, Amrabat, Marcelo Brozovic. Now we're talking about Oriol Romeo, as he seems like the only possible option if we're talking about an external player coming in. Because now talking about Oriol Romeo, Deco as well as some other members of the Barca board are not convinced of the player despite his links to La Masia. You know, they don't see him as the best replacement for Busquets. But it's Xavi Hernandez who is pushing and pushing for the player to sign because he likes the player's positional play system and stuff like that. But they have been convincing Xavi to also make use of Nico Gonzalez. He should give trust to the player. He should give the player confidence that he can do it. That is the reason why I think certain players leave frustrated from La Masia because the managers don't give them the confidence that they can do it because they give them that kind of notion like playing for the first team is too heavy on the shoulders, which is not necessarily the case. So for Nico's case, it's still very complicated. So it remains to be seen if actually Javi decides to keep him, because as it stands right now, Nico is still being linked with a permanent move away from Barca, even for a loan move, as clubs inside La Liga are being showing a strong interest, like Real Betis, who remains the front runners for his signature. Then on to the final story of discussion. Barca secured the signing of Julian Araujo from LA Galaxy earlier this year, but the 21-year-old is yet to make an appearance for the club as his transfer was not ratified by FIFA. During some of the paperwork, they were delayed. Heading into the new season, that will be rectified, and the Mexican international will be eligible to feature for Barcelona. And why he could feature for the Blaugrana, there is no guarantee that the 21-year-old will stay put at the club and get minutes in the upcoming season. Indeed, according to Mundo Deportivo, Barca manager Xavi Hernandez will take a closer look at Araujo during the pre-season, and if the right back does not convince, he will be sent out on loan to a club in Europe. Araujo has no experience whatsoever when it comes to European football, given that he spent his entire career at LA Galaxy before joining Barca. As such, there could be difficulties for the 21-year-old to get used to this level, especially if he does not get regular minutes, which could end up being the case if Barca sign Ivan Fresneda in the summer. In case the 18-year-old does arrive, Araujo would fall behind him, Sergio Roberto and Jules Koundé in the pecking order, which would erase any possibility for him getting regular game time at the club. Hence, there is that possibility that Araujo could be sent out on loan for a club in Europe. There is interest in the Mexican from Eredivisie giants Feyenoord. So guys, with that we have come to an end of this episode. Thanks a lot for watching. Until next time, bye bye.